Hello everyone, this is the assembly video for the free June Stamp of the Month project. It's 4 cards, and if you placed an order this month in June that was $75 before the shipping and tax, and it included the Stamp of the Month, which is Botanical Shadows, then you either received this project in the mail, or if I've seen you, I gave it to you in person. And we're going to put them together today. Here are our 4 cards, and before we jump in, I'm just going to show you what you'll need to gather so we can do the project. Okay, you have your cards, and you should have an accessory pack in there with your cards. These are the 4 ink pads that I used: Melon, Pine, Mocha, and Sage. So you will need those 4 colors. And in addition, you'll need either a glue dot or some kind of liquid glue, whatever you prefer. Leave that there. And you just have a few accessories, so it might not be totally necessary, but this is the pickup tool to pick up the sequins and sparkles, the little fine little embellishments. And then you will need 4 sponges. We're going to sponge in different colors. So sponges and a sponge dauber. And then your blending brush that you use with the orange tones. Blending brushes don't need to be washed every time, but you do need to stick to a color family. So if you have your blending brush that you use with orange tones, that will be great. And then we'll get started. Those colors again: Melon, Mocha, Pine, and Sage. If you're gathering those things, I'll tell you a few quick things, and then we'll get started. This month's one of the specials is Melon Mania, and here is the flyer for Melon Mania. Everything melon is on sale. This is our color of the year, and it will be disappearing at the end of August unless it sells out before. And those are some items that we used today in the cards. So everything melon is on sale. From the cardstock, there's a special cardstock pack with patterns and with UV coated cardstock. There's a stamp set, and then of course all the embellishments. So that's happening. And then you know that there's the special to join this month for $25, and you get $25 back in CTMH cash, so that's basically free. And then today's June 15th, and believe it or not, there were 2 specials that launched today. One is the Bring Back My Pack special. We have a different pack of paper that comes back, that's brought back, and it happens to be for always this time, and it is a pack of black and white patterned paper. I think this page shows it better. Black and white patterned paper. There's a coordinating cardstock pack. There are 2 stamp sets and a sticker sheet with those coordinating colors, and then there's some workshop kits. There's one for cards that are really, really adorable. And then there is one for scrapbooking. So if you remember For Always, there's the scrapbooking workshop. You can go check those out on my website. Not going to go into too much detail. And then the other special that broke today is for VIPs. This is a VIP bonus. And with $100 to $149.99 order, you are going to receive a free VIP bonus bundle worth $30. And then $150 to $199.99 your order, you will receive $45 bundle, $45 value. And then an order of $200 or over, the VIP premium bonus bundle, $60 in product will be in that bundle for you. So you can check that out again on my website. If you're not a VIP, I really suggest joining that program. It pays for itself so quickly. So we've got all of our supplies. I am going to move those out of the way. You do, of course, need your Botanical Shadows stamp set and blocks. and your cleaning supplies, things like that, and your adhesive, your basic tools. And then I suggest if you have your stamping mat, that's great, but I do suggest that you get a scrap piece of paper or cardstock, because we're going to be doing some sponging and I don't want you to ruin your mat. So I'm just going to push those things out of the way, and we need card number 1. There should be a little tiny 1 up in the corner there, and that should be your pieces for card number 1, which is this one here. Okay. We'll take your pieces out. There should be some cardstock pieces, the card itself, and then you do have a little piece of melon shimmer trim in there, and there's the card base, and these are our pieces that we're going to be working with. Grab that French vanilla 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece first. We're going to do some stamping on there, and this is where you'll see where you really need your scrap piece of paper. We're going to be stamping in Mocha 2nd generation, so if you're not sure what that means, I will show you. And we are going to be first using the stamp that's kind of in the middle of this set. It's this one here. We're going to use that first. Fits really nicely on this 2 by 3 1/2 block. So we're going to pick that up with that on there. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of make this damask looking pattern around the outside of this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 French vanilla in 2nd generation Mocha. So what we're going to do, we almost don't even need to ink up the entire stamp, because we're really just going to use like the top 3/4 of it. So if you've got it on your stamp, if you're using a brand new stamp, make sure you season, which means either rub it on your skin, or you can ink it up and stamp it off a million times. That works also. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to fill in around the outside, and again, no rhyme or reason to that. We're just filling in so that that's about 1/2 inch. So, you know, you can go like, and I just made a mistake. I'm going to teach you 2nd generation, so I'm just going to flip that over. So we're going to ink up and we're going to stamp off to the side, and then we're going to stamp on our paper. Everybody makes mistakes. Yay. So we're going to do that, and we're just going to do it over and over and over. You're going to fill maybe 1 inch around to create that kind of a damask pattern. And don't worry if there's a little more white showing here or there. It's not really going to affect anything. We're not going to see too much of it. It's only about, you know, 1 inch that, or 1/2 inch that you see anyway. So stamping off on your scrap, and then just fitting it around the outside of this piece of paper. Fill all the way around. And like here, I've got a little bit of white showing, so I could just do the tip just to fill it a little bit. There's no specific way that you have to fill that in. And like I said, it's not all going to show, so don't worry about it. Oop. Okay, that looks good. So I have my piece. We used 2nd generation, which again, if you don't have a ton of ink pads, maybe you've got the dark brown, the Mocha, and you can always stamp it off and get a lighter color. Like, you know, you can keep going and going with that and get lighter and lighter colors. Nice way to expand your stamp pad colors if you need to. Okay, so we're done with Mocha. I'm going to set that over here to clean. And then I did sponge around the edges of this piece here with sage. So if you have sage, if you don't have sage, this is like a kind of a light, kind of a mossy green. So I just took the sage And I just am just giving it a little sponging here and there. Move this light a little bit. Just around the outside to soften it a little bit. And if you really like that green look around the outside, you can keep going and going. You are welcome to do as much sponging as you want. Just did a little bit just to soften the edges. So that piece is all set. You can set that aside. The melon piece we are using on the dark side. I used it on the dark side. You can set that aside. The pine piece of cardstock, I did scissor distress. And that simply means, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. It simply means you're drawing your scissors along the edge of the cardstock, exposing the white core. And just, again, giving it a little bit of texture around the outside, just a little bit of a different look. So there's our cardstock, pine cardstock piece. We're all set with that. And then this is the one, the little French vanilla, where we're going to do our stamping. We're going to take that same stamp again, the sprig, and this time we are going to ink it up in the sage. We're ready to go because we did the sponging. So we're going to ink that up in the sage. It's down about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch from the top, right in the middle, down about 1/4 of an inch. Not a big deal on the spacing. So there is our sprig. And then we're going to use, I used, there's 2 sayings on here, grateful for you and thanks so much. So whatever your needs are, I use thanks so much on this one. And we're going to put that on, I've used a 2x2 block, but you could also use the 1 by 3.5. So if you haven't seasoned that, season it. You can either rub it on your skin, or you can always just ink it up and then just over and over stamp it. Ink it up again, over and over and over and over stamp it. So that's a good way to season. So we're using Mocha again on the thanks so much. So we're just going to ink that up, and then somewhere towards like the bottom of the foliage on that sprig. Hope my head is not in your way. We're just going to stamp that kind of right in the middle. So there's our thanks so much. And it'll help you if you keep your sponge that you've used, like this was the green one, keep that right on top of your pad. I'm going to take a different sponge, and I am going to use the Mocha, the brown, and I'm just going to do a little sponging around the outside of this. Not a ton, because Mocha is kind of a darker color. And I do reuse my sponges. I do wash my sponges. I don't wash the blending brushes, but I wash my sponges all the time. So there's that. And again, keep that with your Mocha ink pad so you know which one you're using. And then we need to put this little treatment on the bottom there. You see you've got some shimmer trim. It's up about 1/4 of an inch or maybe 3/8 of an inch from the bottom. And you can see it's longer because I gave you a little extra piece so that you could cut this little flag if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. I'm just going to cut a little V in the end. Don't measure or anything. It's just a little V. And I'm just going to cut a little piece off. Just make sure I have it long enough. Oh yeah, I get plenty on here. So I'm just going to cut that little V off. And I'm going to put that about 1/4 of an inch in. Oops. Yeah. About 1/4 of an inch will do it. And then I'm just going to put that right on here again, about maybe it's more like 3/8 of an inch up from the bottom. From the bottom of that cardstock. Oops, my little flag came off. Put him back under. Shimmer trim is very forgiving. You can peel it up and put it back down. And so there's my piece. You just flip that over and trim off what you don't need, obviously. And then I did use foam tape on this when I adhered it to the pine. If you want to, you can. If you don't care for that, you don't have to do it. It's nice if you have thin tape and for mailing that it doesn't make it too, doesn't give it too much dimension. Sometimes when you get crazy with the foam tape on cards, you have to pay a little extra because it won't go through the little card slot that they have down there, and they say, oh, sorry, you need more extra postage. So you can take that piece and take your foam tape off and bring your pine cardstock back in, and we're just going to center this right on the pine cardstock. So there's our little sentiment, and then the pine cardstock just gets adhered to the melon. And again, it's centered right in the center. And then we've got our background piece. There's my mistake. And that is going to go right on the card. So there it is. And then the melon, we just adhere right to the card. I had someone tell me last month they thought I should go through and make all the cards instead of just telling you. So that's what I'm going to do. I did give you some sequins, and if you want to use those, you can. I like to show you this because it's just a tip that I use myself. This is my little anti-static pouch. And when I'm using a new bag of sequins, I put that anti-static pouch right in there with the sequins, and I just give it a shake. And what that does is it takes the static away from the sequins. It's a great thing. Anything you want to be anti-static. And I'm going to take it, and I'm actually going to rub it on this little dish. I use these little dishes from Wegmans. I love these. My upline actually taught me that. And I'm just going to pour some out. I think I gave you the colors that I had used on the card, but you know, you can use what you want. I might have given you a few extra. So I'm just going to use liquid glue, but also glue dots work just fine on the shimmer trim. So I used white on here. So I'm just going to put my little dot of glue, drop my little sequin in there. And then I'm going to use a little bit smaller white one. I'm going to put that down here. And that one's done. Easy. So we will set that aside. That is card number 1. And you can find the photos for these on my website, on my blog, on Facebook, or on Instagram. So that's card number 1. And we'll move on to number 2. Just going to move these sequins over a little bit. And I'll move this out of the way so that we don't get into it. And this is card number 2. And we are going to do the same kind of treatment along the edges there that we did on the first card. I'll just set it right there. Grab your number 2. And your pieces out of there. And we're going to work first with this sage cardstock, this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 sage. And we're going to switch from this stamp to the other sprig that has the, looks like it has little flowers on top. So we're going to switch to that one. Again, the 2 by 3 1/2 block works really well. Oops, put that on a little bit too far down. So we're going to put this on, And when I did the stamping, I tried to do it so that I wasn't really getting the flowers, because I think the flowers kind of just look like blobs in a way. So I was trying to get just the greenery. Again, not much of it's going to show, so you don't need to really, worry too much about how it looks. But you're just going to ink up that stamp. We're not going to see the center part, so you're just going to go down and you're going to just put some of that greenery so it's showing. And you can see how my flowers are going off the side there. Didn't want them, so just kind of using the greenery part of it. I got a little bit of the flower there, but that's okay. So we're going to do that along the edge, flip it around, and do the other side. Same thing. I'll put a little flower on there just for interest. All right, so fill up the whole side with that. I don't know if that looks like a fern. I don't know what that is, but okay, so we did both sides there in the sage, and we're done with that color. We're going to do the sprig in the middle with pine. So if you want to grab that, you can. We're going to use the pine ink on that. But first, we'll just go ahead and do our pieces. Here, these two pieces, the pine light side and the melon, I used the dark side. These two need that scissor distressing again. So just running the scissors down the edges just gives it a little texture, softens it a little bit, but you do not have to do that if you don't want to. So there's that one. We're going to get our pieces all ready. And there's one thing I didn't tell you to grab that you're going to need. You're going to need your masking tape, or you could use just Scotch tape, or you could use a Post-it note. Any of those things will work. Okay. When I do that scissor distressing, sometimes I just like to flip it over and then flatten the edges back out, because it gives it that nice border. So that's what I'm doing here. Just flattening the edges back out from the back. Okay, so you've got your prepared sage, you've got your pine light side, and you've got your melon dark side. And then we've got two other little pieces of French vanilla. This is going to be for the flowers. This is going to be for the sentiment. So we're using pine ink this time. So go ahead and grab the pine. And I used Grateful for You on this one. Again, you can use whatever sentiment you have more need for. Okay, season it up. Either rub it on your skin or ink it up and stamp a couple times and then clean it off. So this is Grateful for You, right on this little smaller piece. Okay, so there's that one. And then what we're going to need the masking tape or the Scotch tape for is we are going to mask off part of this stamp. If you want to use just the way it is, you can. But I masked it off so that I would just get the leafy part of this sprig and not those flowers that I said I thought looked like blobs. So what we're going to do, if you have Scotch tape or if you have a Post-it note, you can use any of those things. What we're going to do is we're going to try to mask off just the flower part. So There's one flower here at the top. That's going to be easy. This flower here, it's a little bit harder, but if you really look through there, and it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect, but we're going to put 3 actual embellishment flowers on there. So we don't really want those blobby looking flowers. So I've got it pretty well covered up. I do want that little stem on the left and the right, so I don't want to cover them up too much there. So that looks pretty good. I think I've got it covered up. If ever you're doing this and you want to, I think I've got a little bit showing on that other side. If you want to make sure before you stamp it, just do it on some scratch paper. But you can look right through here and you can see what you're covering and where you might not have something covered. I think I've got one more little piece to cover. There's a little bud on the right-hand side of the stamp, and I don't really want that. I just want the stem. So I'm going to cover that up. And then I'm going to give it a try and see what happens, I think. Actually, that looks good. I think that looks good. So we're going to ink it up with our masking tape on there and in the pine ink. So what happens is then the ink is on your mask, right? And so I've inked it up, and now I'm going to just take that mask right off, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp this down. So there it is. And I got a little bit on the paper there, but that's okay. Make sure you throw that out because that masking tape will not dry the same. And I don't want you to get anything on your project. Just kind of toss that out, put that in your garbage. So I cleaned that off. And then this is what we're left with. And then I'm going to take, you should have in your package of embellishments, the little melon flowers. I'm going to take those and I'm going to put them on my project here to make it look like real flowers instead of just those blob flowers. I didn't care for those so much, so you can cover up any mistakes you see or what have you. And so I'm just going to put those flowers there. And I also put 3 teeny tiny little sequins in the middle of those flowers. And the way I did that, I just put a blob of glue. You can also use a glue dot. Put the blob of glue right in the middle there. And then choose out 3 of your, again, this is the pickup tool. That's really helpful if you haven't used it before. Just pick up 3 of your tiny little ones. It doesn't really matter what color. Some are shiny, some are not. And I just drop those right in the middle. Let's see, there's another one. These pickup tools are great for little embellishments. They just allow you to just pick it right up easily. So there's our little flowers. And the Grateful for You piece and the flower piece are going to get sponged in sage. So bring your sage ink back in with your sponge. And again, just gonna, rub it along the edges to put some color on. And again, this is up to you. You can do it as little or as much as you want. Just Give it a nice green border. And do the same on the Grateful for You piece, or thank you, whichever you used. Okay, so there's our two pieces prepared. And we're going to grab our card base. We're going to put the sage piece that we stamped on down first. Right on the card. If you ever have the if the pieces are too large for the card front, you know, you can just open the card up from inside. Simply just trim it right off. Okay, so we're going to put these two pieces on. First, we'll put the pine on. And that's going to be centered right down the center of the card. And then we're going to put the melon piece. We scissor distress those. Two pieces. So we're going to put that on. Oops. Right down the center of the pine piece. And then we've got our flowers. And this is going to go down about 1/2 inch from the top. My sequins are wet. So centered and about 1/2 inch from the top. And then the Grateful for You or your sentiment piece is going to go right underneath that. So there's card number 2. And I did put, again, some sequins on the top and the bottom. I'm just going to put a dab of my glue. And a dab there. And a dab here. And a dab here. And then I'll use my pickup tool to grab some white sequins and drop those right on the glue that I already put on. Glue dots work really well also. Okay, so we'll set that aside to dry. So you put your 3 small, tiny little sequins in the center of the flowers, and you've got your white on the top and bottom. Okay? All right, we'll set that aside. Number 2. And we will grab the 3rd card, which is this one. And we're going to get to do a little sponging on this one. If you don't have blending brushes, I will tell you that I think they are the bomb. I love them. I really think they're great. Again, you really don't need to wash them every time. Just stick with a color family. We're going to be using melon. This is my brush that I use with orangey colored things. So just if you can, you know, once in a while, if you want to wash them, you can. But you really don't need to. Just after you're done using them, you just color it off like this. And you can see that there's really no color coming. It just kind of dyes the brush. So this is card number 3. And should have 2 little ovals down in there. Again, this one has a piece of the shimmer trim. The pine we're going to put down on the card. I used the light side, so that will go ahead and put down. There's actually no treatment that we need to do on here, no stamping, no distressing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right on the card. Get it out of the way. And set that aside. Set your little ovals aside. And grab your piece of French vanilla. This is where we're going to do some sponging. If you haven't done this before, again, it's super easy and you can do as much or as little as you want. The more you sponge, the deeper the hue will be. So you just take your sponge, your melon ink pad, dip it in there. You can always try it over here first to see if you've got, you know, what you got going on. You might think, ooh, that's going to be dark. So dip it, and then I work in a circular motion towards the paper. That's what I like to do. It seems to, I start the circular motion when I'm off on the scrap, and then I come towards the card. We did this a little bit last month with the little skunk stamp of the month. And again, the more you do, the darker it's going to be, and that's what you want. You know, you want it to be, if you want it to be dark, that's what you want to do. And then just work down the paper. I got a little lighter as I went, so I'm just going to, you know, maybe not do as much color. This works with your regular ink pads. It also works with the Distress Oxides, either one. And Distress Oxides tend to create more of a kind of a deeper color, I guess I would say. And the difference with them is you can do the water, you can spritz them, spray, you know, after you get the color on here, you can spritz it, spray water on it, drop water on it, use a water brush on it to really, you know, if you want the water in certain places, it makes it look like it's got those splash marks on it. The dye-based ink is not going to react that way. You'll see it a little bit, but you really need the Distress Oxides if you want to do that. So I'm getting lighter and lighter as I come down. And again, I just always work in circles. I found that works really well for me. So don't need to go quite to the bottom. So this is what I meant before, where I just color it off. Just color that off, and you know, it's still orange, but it's not leaving any color. Okay, we'll set that aside. And we are going to need, I used the thanks so much on the little oval, and that is stamped in Mocha. So I'm going to bring that over, and I'm going to stamp thanks so much. Left that on the block. And then after you do the stamping, I did edge this. I did sponge the edges with the Sage ink again. Clean that off. Make sure this is Sage. Nope, that's brown. Had it on the wrong pad. Good thing I tested it. So with your Sage ink, just going to do that sponging all around just to soften it up. And if you don't have the round sponge, this is the round sponge cut in pieces. I cut it in like 6 or 8 pieces. It's just easier to work with when it's smaller. If you don't have the round sponge, you can use like a sponge dauber if you have that. Either one will work. And you can also use the blending brush if you're very careful. Let me put this with the Sage so I don't get confused. So I've got that, and we're going to go ahead and put that right on the dark side of the melon oval. So that's that. So that's all prepared and ready. And then this we're going to do with one of the border sets. I love this for cards, but I also love this for scrapbooking along like the bottom of a page. I think it's great. So we need to use the big block because this is a 6-inch stamp. And when you have these big blocks or big stamps, long stamps, you want to put them on, and you don't want those air bubbles in there. You can look through and see. If you see like an air bubble right in the middle of where you've put it on, raise it up, go into where the air bubble is, and then let it curve down onto the block, and then press. And you should be able to get the air bubble out. Like I can see one right here. You probably can't see it, but I'm going to lift it up, drop it down, and then go from the center towards the side, and the air should go out. Again, it should be seasoned, so take a minute, rub it on your arm, rub it on your skin. You can ink it up and stamp it, whichever you prefer, but you do need to have these seasoned if you haven't used it yet. Maybe some of you have already used it. And then I've got 2 colors that we're going to stamp in here. We're going to stamp the top part of this in sage, and then we're going to put some pine on the bottom. And I'm going to show you, get your sponge that we had with the green. I'm going to show you, this is pretty much a, you know, kind of a straight across line. If you want it not to be so liney, what we're going to do is, after I ink this up, you can just kind of bounce across there to like blur the ink a little bit almost, I would say. So we're going to start with sage, and we're going to ink that up. I still can see some bubbles there, but it should be okay. You've got your piece that is the sponged with the blending brush. My table is squeaky. So we're going to ink that totally up, and then we've got our pine ink as well. This is the sage, inking the entire thing. That looks good. Then I'm going to bring my pine. I only want to do a little bit along the bottom. So you can bounce it back and forth. So you've got your 2 colors on there. And then what I meant before about softening the line is just kind of pounce it across there. It just kind of blends the line a little bit. And I was just breathing on the stamp to re-moisten the ink from the top. And then we're going to stamp that right on the bottom. That's a big stamp, so you're going to want to set it down, and then you're going to want to give it some nice pressure along the bottom. And lift it up, and then you've got your 2 colors on there. And if you still want to, you know, blur that line a little bit, you can always take this sponge and just kind of pounce it across there. It'll give some of the it'll get some of the ink kind of colorized with the darker above there, and it'll just kind of blend in. It just kind of blends in nicer. And just kind of pounce that across. And then I kind of wanted to make this look like a sunset, so I've got a little bit of the melon that I used a sponge dauber. I'll ink that melon up, and then I kind of just pounced my sponge dauber there to kind of look like the sun, and just a little bit out from there, just so it looks like it's, you know, on the horizon. It's a little darker. So back and forth. But my sun is there in the center, setting. So there we go. That was the melon. So we've got our pieces. I did use the 3D foam tape under the thanks so much, but we want to put our shimmer trim down first, and that is down 1 1/8 inches from the top. So get your shimmer trim going, which is often the hardest part. What I do usually is I just fold over, I fold it against itself, and that makes the backing pop out. And peel it off. And then mine is 1 1/8 inches down from the top. Just put your shimmer trim on there. I think I gave you a little extra. So you put that on, flip it over, and just trim those 2 pieces off. We don't need that sticking out. And so that's going to go right on our base that we put the pine on before. So you're just going to put that on there centered. And then again, the thanks so much. If you want to put a little foam tape on, if you don't, I totally understand if you don't like to mail cards that have that dimension. That's fine. We have had thin 3D foam tape on back order forever. I'm sorry about it. I hope it comes any day, because my own personal stash, I had a little bit, but I'm coming to the end. So I like that on cards better because it's easier for mailing. So we're going to put that sentiment right on the top. And then I did put one of the little flowers, the melon flowers, there also, just kind of on the edge. So that's that card. That's the third one. Okay. Those are self-adhesive, so they're nice. You don't need to worry about gluing. Okay, last one, and it's the last one is the easiest one. I always make a mess when I'm crafting. I hope everybody understands. So our last one is number 4, and you just have a couple pieces in there. And do I not have a card base in here on this one? Well, I guess I do not. I'll have to grab my card base later. Here's the card. Super simple. We've got the mocha piece that's going to go right onto your card, and then we've got 2 French vanilla pieces. We are going to, this one's just going to go right onto the mocha, and then this is the one we're going to do the sponging on. So grab your blending brush back again and your melon ink. And if you don't have melon, but you're loving it, remember I said this month is Melon Mania, so you can go ahead and get your ink. And some of the ink has been on back order, but a bunch of them just came back in. Working in that circular motion again. It doesn't have to be perfect, but nice and even if you can. If you like it dark, you can do it dark. If you like it light, just do a little. Some nice color. This card is actually one that was in the catalog, and I loved it so much I thought, oh, I'm going to make that one with the Stamp of the Month crew, because I just think it's so pretty. About 2/3 of the way down. Don't have to go all the way to the bottom if you don't want to. If you want to, that's fine. Just really get really light towards the bottom. Okay, the other border stamp is what we need now. So I'm going to take this one off of my big block. Just make sure it's clean. We're going to need the one with the trees. And same thing, this is great for cards, but boy, do I love this for a scrapbook page across the bottom, or to frame a photo out or something. I think this tree border stamp will be really pretty in the fall. I would, when I ink that up, I think I would use sponges or like a felt pad and do the trees in different colors. So pick those up, make sure we have our air bubbles out, make sure you've done your seasoning. If you see air bubbles, just lift it up and then work from the center and kind of roll it out. Okay, so we've done our melon. Can put that aside. We're going to need the mocha to do the trees and the sentiment. So bring your mocha back in. And obviously it's too big, but it's better to err on the side of caution and ink the entire thing, I think, than it is to try to fit it exactly. So ink up your trees really well. That looks great. And we're just going to go right across the bottom. And again, this is a big stamp, so we need to put some pressure on it in the middle. It's always a good idea to wait a couple seconds. Some people stamp down and then instantly lift their Stamp Up. I like to wait till the ink sinks into the paper a little bit. Pull that off. There's your trees. So pretty. And that piece, I'll get the ink out of the way because we're finished with that. No sponging on this one. So I'm just going to put the ink aside. And this piece we're going to take and put it directly on the bigger French vanilla piece of cardstock. Probably hard for you to see the white on white here. So we're going to put that on there. And then we're going to put this onto the mocha and then onto your card. That's a simple one, right? Like nothing to it. Really simple, but I love it. I just thought it was so pretty in the catalog. Again, I used Grateful for You on this one, but if you want to, you can use the Thank You, whichever one you want to use. I'm going to use Grateful for You on the wrong pad. And there's my mocha. Excuse my head for just a second. So put Grateful for You on there, or your Thank You. And then I did give you a few little extra sequins, the tiny little sequins. Again, I would just either use a glue dot, or if you're using any kind of liquid glue, just put your blob on there. Put your glue blob. You can go crazy with these. If you already have the melon sequins and you want a lot of them, you can certainly use a ton of them. But I used the itty bitty ones, and I used some medium size, 2 medium, 3 medium, and 2 itty bitty ones. So just gonna drop those on to the card. And we're almost done. So there's some larger ones, and then could it possibly be that there's not any itty bitty ones here? Pour some more out. There we go. Tiny little sequins. All right, just these teeny tiny ones. Oops. She's upside down. There's one. And there's the other. So that one is all set, and then you're just going to glue that onto your card base. My card base seems to have gone astray, so I don't have one, but it covers the entire card front. So there is your last one, and that one was right in the catalog. So I told you about the 2 new specials this month, and you've probably seen a few little tidbits here and there from the new catalog. I'll just show it to you quickly if you haven't seen anything online. I haven't posted anything, but I'm working on my workshops with the new catalog. My VIPs, I will be sending out your catalog or dropping them off this weekend. So, and if you're ordering starting today, you know you'll get one in your order. But this is the new July-August book. This is the first collection in the book. It's called Cape Cod. I'll just show you both pages. That's the paper. It's the embellishments and the digital. It's a really pretty beachy kit. And then the one for fall is called Cozy Up. I'll show you that. It's kind of got a book theme and fall theme. It would be good for back to school. So that's really cute fall paper. Start on your fall projects. And for my Stamp of the Month crew, I'll show you the stamps of the month. The July Stamp of the Month is called The Bee's Knees. And if you like to color, it is definitely for you. And this one is called Goodbye Isn't Forever. That's for August. It's really pretty. And again, VIPs will get their catalogs. I'll mail them out this weekend. And others after July 4th weekend. If anybody else wants one, you're welcome to get in touch with me and let me know that you're interested, and I will get one to you. They will come in VIP orders starting today, and then the 22nd for all other customers, they will include one in your order. So don't forget about Melon Mania. We used a lot of melon today, and that color will be going away at the end of August, unless it sells out first, then it's gone. So Melon Mania is running. That's the special. Everything melon is on sale. The accessories, the paper, the stamp pad, everything. So I just finished up my Melon Mania workshop, and I'm going to post that tonight or tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy your Stamp of the Month cards and look forward to the Bee's Knees next month. And I will see you on July 15th with another video for your free project. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Take care. I hope you're having a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.